Hello, my name is Geogen and welcome back to World of Tanks. I'm taking a look at the Churchill 3 today in hopefully a concise review. If you're interested, stick around. I'll be talking about the vehicle in quite a amount of good detail. Or the detail that you need to know. Anyhow, enough of the introduction. Let's begin. So, the Churchill 3 is a premium Soviet heavy tank. And you might be wondering, if you're newer to the game, why is this a premium Soviet tank? Isn't it a British vehicle? And yes, the Churchill is a British vehicle. Historically, the tank was lent to the Soviet Union via the Lend-Lease program, along with the USA supplying various vehicles and equipment. The reason why it sits in the Soviet tree, though, coupled with that reason, is because the British line didn't exist when this vehicle was added to the game. So, as it was Lend-Lease, historically, they put it in the Soviet tech tree. Now, it has a healthy chunk of hit points, 700, and at tier 5, this is quite a good amount. If we look at comparable tier 5 heavy tanks like the KV-1, you have 60 more hit points. The KV-1 has 640. I was about to say KV-1S. That's a KV-85 at tier 6 that has 870 hit points, so that's irrelevant. Anyhow, you have more hit points than the KV-1, and I believe you have 40 more hit points than a T1 heavy, so this vehicle can be used as a damage sponge. It weighs quite a lot, and you'd be thinking you can ram enemies who are lighter than you, but you can't. The vehicle is very slow. It only has a 374 horsepower engine, and its top speed is only 28 km an hour. I mean, you may go faster down hills, but not by much. Its traverse speed is 20 degrees, and that is cripplingly slow. If you're circle strafed by fast mediums and tank destroyers like the T-67, which you will encounter as it is a tier 5 tank destroyer, you will have to kill him very quickly in order to survive. The gun will allow you to do that. The gun is a 6-pounder or a 57mm and fires 26 rounds a minute, which is a very high rate of fire. You reload on my crew with this configuration with a gun rammer and defense in 1.93 seconds. The damage output is pretty poor at 75, but your penetration is quite good for tier 5, 110 with standard, AP, and with APCR, the premium rounds, you can fire shells with a penetration of 180 on average, which is very good. Accuracy wise, gun is poor. It's much like other Soviet vehicles, and it has a .43 accuracy, which is much to be desired. Doesn't leave much to be desired. The aim time of 2.3 seconds, by the way, is longer than the reload. So if you're firing the gun at a range, you're going to have to take that into consideration and allow it to aim fully. And the weight doesn't matter. I'm going to be talking about the Armour once we're in Tank Inspector, an external program to show the Armour profile. Now, the turret traverse speed is also pretty slow, but it's a lot faster than that of the track traverse, so you may be able to get the turret acquiring a new target if it is coming around you from the sides. The view range is 350 meters, which is okay. You are at tier 5, remember, and 350 meters is the same, I believe, as an IS-3, which is tier 8. Let me check that. Let's see, IS-3, vehicle detail. In fact, the stock IS-3 has 330 meters view range, but with the upgraded turret, I believe you get 350. There it is, and that's at tier 8. However, Soviet vehicles generally have pretty poor view range. And the signal range is 570 meters, but no one cares about view range. Signal range. Everyone cares about view range. That'd be foolish if you didn't. let's move on to the armour profile in Tank Inspector. Okay, so here's Tank Inspector and the Churchill 3. It says here in the description, a British tank supplied to the USSR under Lend-Lease. The USSR received a total of 301 vehicles, with some lost at sea during transport to Murmansk in northwestern Russia. Anyway, back to the tank. It says on the right here the armour profile, or the armour thicknesses, that the Churchill can receive. And in the game it told you, oh yes, the tank has a thickness at the front of 176mm. And you're probably thinking, why haven't I got one of these already? It sounds overpowered. It isn't. Let's take a look at the collision model. Right, so here is the collision model from the front. And the lower plate here is 114mm, and that's quite good. Slightly angled, not very well, but it's very thick, and sometimes I think you're quite lucky and you will bounce quite a few shells from there, especially from lower tier guns. But there you go, almost 200mm of armour when angling. Now that 176 armour is only here in this red zone, and this red zone covers a machine gun port, as well as, I believe, a radio operator, or the machine gun operator here. And the driver sits next to them, I believe. Anyway, the driver's side doesn't have hardly as much armour. 88, the same as the frontal turret. The middle of where the machine gun is on this side, and where the viewports are on this side, are 63mm. So, if you're going to shoot this thing in the hull, shoot it in the machine gun port, or the driver's side on the left. You can also shoot the slope upper glacis if you're above it, and even if you're in front of it, it's only effective 60mm. The sides are 76 and 63 here, where there is a door. The rear has spaced armour, but is 51mm behind spaced armour, as you can see, and it drops down to 25mm with 40mm of effective because of the sloping. The tracks can provide quite the amount of armour. Ricochet here, 157mm if you go through the tracks and into the armour as well. Shoot up like this, 115. So the tracks can give you quite a good amount of protection. Here comes the downside. The turret is awful in comparison to the rest of the armour. The turret is flat everywhere, especially the front. You can see it's just a big slab of metal in a very straight 90 degrees. There is some angling going on here and here, but it's still flat if you shoot at it from the sides and the rear. Now, the armour is 88mm all round until you get to the rear, which it drops down to 76. Also, the roof and engine deck is 16mm thick, so if you're in artillery, you will have a very nice time if you can land a shot back here. That's enough at looking at the armour. We can have a look at some of the other statistics whilst we're here in Tank Inspector. Here is the penetration and damage per minute. It estimates your damage per minute without any modules. Let's put on the modules that I had. Medium tank gun rammer and the ventilation, and we also have 100% crew. We didn't have any we didn't have any brothers in arms, so our damage per minute has now gone up to 2,300 if you can penetrate every single shell that you fire, and that's great. And you see here in the garage it said 26 rounds a minute. It jumps up to 31 rounds a minute with the gun rammer, vents and 100% crew. You can see the accuracy when firing on the move is also quite good. except the aim time is still quite high at 2.1 seconds compared to the reload rate of 1.9. Mobility, as you can see, we talked about this earlier, it's very bad. We got good amount of health, we have an okay price for the shells because they're very small, and that's the view range and camera rating, which is awful. Stationary, you've only got an 8% camera rating coefficient, and when you're firing and moving, it's a 1.24. You're not going to win any prizes for stealth. Let's get back to the game, and a replay. So we're in the Churchill 3 on the newly revamped Swamp, and if you've ever played Swamp before, the map was diabolical before this patch. It's okay now, it's a bit more float, the map flows a bit better, instead of just camping it out, but there is still a bit of camping involved, which is quite hard to remove in certain maps. Anyway, Churchill 3, the whole point of this video. The vehicle is travelling along at around 20 kilometers an hour, and that's the sort of speed you're going to have to put up with when going across country. Sometimes reaches about 30 kilometers an hour if you go downhill, depending on the gradient. The idea that I have on this map is to go to the west and through this sort of town area, along with several allies. I believe, yes, we've got 4 allies on our left and a KV-1 behind us. We've also got a T-67 and a Crusader to the east. So we've made it into this new town section, which is quite nice. I quite like this map, or this section of the map anyway. And we've spotted, or we can see there's at least 4 enemies to encounter. Now let's use this gun, which has 110 penetration, VP, there we go, and only 75 damage. There's a target. It's another Churchill 3, and you can see we aim for his turret because it goes straight through. Get hit by a T-67, penetrates a square in the turret, and straight through the upper glacis, or the angled upper glacis. But we managed to get 3 good shots into him because this rate of fire is so very nice indeed. KV-1 bounced off the rear, 110 armour he has, so we aim for the hull. And we're just tearing him apart. Some of the shots are bouncing, and now we're getting shot from the side, but I don't really care. It bounces, we kill the KV-1. It's only a Crusader. He is damaging us if he shoots us in the turret. But we're trying to angle our hull armour. And then he decides to rush us. He obviously doesn't know that this gun has such a high rate of fire that it was suicide. We're now getting hit again by that T-67. And my shooting is not very good. So you can see that we've taken quite a lot of damage. We're only on 297 health. So the sponge effect can be quite bad if you encounter T-67s or enemies with high penetration guns for their tier and high rate of fire. Again, he penetrates us in the turret and takes out our gunner. We have to put him back in action. He hits our track and it bounces, talking about that spaced armour of the tracks. And we take him out. We don't manage to secure the kill on the Panzer IV-H, but you can see within that very short space of time, the battle isn't even 4 minutes old, the enemy team has crumbled to only 4 enemy tanks, and we've killed 4 of them and gained 1200 damage. Now we're getting hit by artillery, and that's a thing you're going to have to put up with, especially at this tier. Tier 3 through 5 of artillery, for all nations generally, have a high rate of fire and quite good aim time. But they have low damage, unless they hit you on that engine deck, which I was referring to earlier. I also forgot to mention the vehicle has 12 degrees of gun elevation, which is quite good if you're trying to hit targets on hills, but only 6 degrees of gun depression. which means you're going to have to expose yourself on ridge lines quite a lot, and people can shoot you up here and down here when you're doing that. But as we talked about in Tank Inspector, the lower plate is actually quite strong. And that's the end of that game. So, to be concise, we got a first class mastery badge. People do very well in this machine, because it's quite easy to play in some respects. We got Fire for Effect, killed 4 vehicles, the Fire Ribbon, the Duelist, the Bruiser, Steel Wall, unsurprisingly, and the High Caliber. We got 48,000 credits and 1700 base experience. Sorry, 1700 experience. Again, it says without premium, but I do have a premium account. You can see the difference between earnings and with and without a premium. Anyhow, team score, we came top on our team with 1170 base experience, 4 kills, 1403 damage. Detailed report, fired 29 shots, 24 hits and 20 penetrations, so quite a good amount of our shells damaged enemies. More importantly, you want to know about the credit making potential. 48,000 credits with a premium account, 2,000 on repairs, 1,000 on ammunition, and 3,000 on consumables. I think that was a medkit. So we gained 42,000 credits in profit. You can see therefore that this makes you quite a large amount of money if you know what you're doing with it, and also the experience is very nice if you want to convert it to free experience or use it to train your crew. So I hope you enjoyed the gameplay and the review of the Churchill 3. You can see it's quite a capable tier 5 heavy tank, and it's a premium, so you'll be able to gain quite a few credits and train up your heavy tank crews for the Soviets. The armour is quite good if you angle it properly, but its turret armour is underwhelming. The sides and rear as well are very flat. The gun is excellent, it's got a good rate of fire and good penetration, and it has preferential matchmaking, meaning it will only encounter tier 6s. With all the games I've played thus far, it's only been tier 5 games. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please consider giving a like down below and perhaps a comment. Tell me what you think of the Churchill 3, the KV-1, any tier 5 heavy tank. And as always, I'll see you chaps and chapettes in the next one.